Good morning and welcome to TNT, Tim Newton today for a Saturday morning, the 4th of November. I really sort of don't know what happened to October. It just sort of happened like that and suddenly it was November. But really good to have you with us on, well, a beautiful day here at Turtle Beach. Now, just a little bit of a panic before we started because, as has happened before, it did a bit of a reset on me. So I had to just turn everything off and turn it all on again and just making sure things are working, which I just need to do, making sure that you can hear me okay, and then we'll sort of move on with the rest of the program. So just in case you don't know, I live on a beach in an area called Thailand, which is so difficult to say, we just call it here Turtle Beach. Well, only Steve Ross and I call it Turtle Beach, but might catch on. But it's a lot easier to say than Thai Muang. Steve's trying to teach me. A very, 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 very quiet day today. In fact, I'll give you a bit of a show what's happening out there. There's a lone fisherman on the shores. This is just 50 metres from my place. Some storms disappearing over the western horizon, but very, very little air today. And the tide's, halfway out. It goes a bit lower than that. And you can see all the fishing boats are pretty much tied up at the moment. I'll tell you why in just a moment. But that's about all you can see out the front at the beach today. As far as the roads are concerned, they're not much busier. A very nice sunny day. And that stretch of road goes for about 5 kilometres until it gets to the national park. Then it goes a bit further up the coast, a dead, straight, flat road, so very popular with cyclists. This is the front of the two beach houses. That one is called Bonneville, and then that's where I live with the blue door. And we've got the two beach houses next to each other, and they don't look much from the outside, but inside they're very nice indeed after they've been given a full makeover, and they're very deep, running about 25-30 metres into the property. And once you get to the back, this is what you see. We've sort of joined the two properties together at the back, and you've got this one large garden. The camera sort of went into slow motion mode for some reason, so the pan is much slower than I'd planned. Anyway, we've done a lot of work in the garden. When I first went there, you couldn't even see if there was a back wall because the weeds were about 6 foot high. And I could see there was a tree, but anyway, it took a lot to remove all that crap and rubbish, and then we've replanted it, and everything's growing really, really fast as it does in the tropics. Anyway, great to have you with us, and I can see that the comment section has been busy before I even came along. And thanks for those people that sent messages. We will get to those. And what have we got here? We've got Dam, Frank in Thailand, Hans, Jack Flowers, who's in Perth and says it's 37 today. Well, it's going to get to about 31 here, but 37 in Perth, well, you don't have the humidity. That sort of makes it a bit more pleasant. The Snives, who's from Boston. Hi, Snives, who says, great news. My fiancée is getting her interview for the K1 visa very soon. And I'm assuming that's some type of American visa, and good luck to you. Brett Border says, good evening from Victoria in British Columbia. Every time I hear Victoria named after the same Queen of England, I'm always thinking of my home state, which is Victoria in Australia, down the south there, of which the capital is Melbourne. Thank you very much. Interconnected WW, have a great day from South Central Oklahoma. South Central. Okay, I think I've sort of got the rough idea in Oklahoma. And of course, you can't say Oklahoma without thinking about that song, the theme song from the musical. Alpha Bravo says, morning all, a famous speaker of one of Thailand's TV channels married a foreigner. He needed extension of stay. Now she's very surprised that immigration officer wants to see her living place and pics. I think that's pretty standard these days when you're applying for these partner visas pretty much anywhere in the world. Hans C. Schellenberg Says congratulations. As I said, everybody's having the conversation within. Oh God, is there anything I need to attend to here in the live chat? Thug Life, Mick Fitz, Ian Donacci. I'm trying to see if there's anything that says question, or they're all just talking to each other. I might as well just leave you to it. I'll see you later, and you can sort of chat amongst yourselves. Damn it, it's my program. I'm going to reclaim it. Tim isn't even here. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I'm thinking. So let's get on with some important news stories. And hang on, where I have to go like that, and I have to do this. And this story is from the Bangkok Post. It says, warning over Thailand's finances. Analysts are expressing concerns over Thailand's fiscal position, saying figures are likely to deteriorate in the medium term as the government pushes through populist policies, such as the digital wallet scheme. And the BMI unit of Fitch Solutions expects Thailand's budget deficit to widen from 2.9% to 3.6%. Doesn't sound like that much of a deficit. I think I've heard figures in a lot of questions a lot higher than that, but anyway, that's what they're saying. And the government's budget next year is designed to drive GDP growth and unveiled a fiscal 2024 budget of 3.48 trillion baht. And Thailand's fiscal position will come under pressure in the medium term as we think the Thai government will implement expansionary populist spending to reach its growth target of 5%. So the government's aiming for 5. I think the banks are saying it's going to be 3 point something next year as far as GDP growth is concerned. So we'll just have to see how everything unwinds. And it's not really just up to the government here in Thailand. I mean, there's so many other influences on things outside their control, including things like tourist numbers, which brings us to the theme of today's program, which is how high is this year's high season going to be? And usually people are very, very optimistic. None the least the Tourism Authority of Thailand, the famous TAT, they get out their crystal balls and everything is rosy and wonderful. But speaking to some of the players, they are saying that forward bookings for the high season this year are not looking particularly good. And if you go to some of the airline websites, you can still get some bargains around December and January, which usually is not the case. Usually that time of the year, the flights are pretty thin on the ground and you're paying a premium. Well, we're already paying a premium for flights from just about everywhere in the world, but you can find the odd bargain, but you've got to look a little bit harder. But I was looking for the possibility of just surprising my family back in Australia. They don't watch this, don't worry. And for Christmas, don't tell them if you know them. And the flights weren't that bad. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. So the high season, they're expecting it's going to be a real bumper high season, back to the way things were back in 2019. All the tourist spots booked out, thousands of tourists around, but I'm not really sure whether that's going to be the case. Now, that time of the year is not a time usually when David Clark from Australia, a coffee for you and Stephen. Oh, bugger Steve, he can buy his own coffee. I'm going to buy 2 for me. I might invite him, see how I feel. I've got my own coffee. You see, it's actually got coffee in it too, which is cooling down. It was too hot. Excuse me. I didn't slurp. Don't complain. Nescafe. Thank you very much, David. Really appreciate it. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the support. About the high season, Bill G saying, with Chinese economic issues, unemployment, loss of foreign investment, etc., do you think Thailand and other Asian countries need to revamp their Chinese tourism figures for the near future? Yes, there's no doubt. But things happening in China, I mean, I get every day people saying, oh, now that the Chinese economy has collapsed. Well, the Chinese economy hasn't collapsed. It's going through a bit of a dip, but it's not in recession. So when people are saying, oh, it's about to collapse, it's the end of the world, and no, we'll never see another Chinaman again. I know I used the word Chinaman. That's the sort of language they use because they're just hoping that the citizens of China are going to suffer because of the ills of, say, the Chinese Communist government. I don't wish bad on anybody. And I'm hoping that the Chinese citizens will continue to come to Thailand because generally the Thais like them because they spend lots of money. They don't stay as long as some other, say, Western countries, but when they're here, they spend more per day than just about any other tourists. So, yeah, the Thais like them coming here. But I think there are some economic issues that are going to stop some of the middle class travelling to Thailand. There's also been some quite negative publicity about some of the problems with Chinese scams on Chinese people in Thailand. A lot of the scammers operating out of Thailand and fleecing money off the middle class back in their homeland. So, look, I think there are some headwinds for a resumption of Chinese tourism anywhere where it was. Having said that, the high season, the December, January, are not the peak seasons for Chinese travel. February certainly would be when we've got the Chinese New Year, and then you've got times in September and October with, I think it's called the Golden Week, when there's lots of Chinese. Remembering that now the Thai government has lifted the visa on arrival for Chinese visitors. They've now got a visa waiver, along with, I think the latest number is 61 countries, and you can include in that just recently Taiwan and India and Kazakhstan. So they're hoping they're going to get some more tourists from those countries. They've also controversially allowed Russians to stay not 30 days visa-free, but now 90 days. And I think Westerners have got a perfectly good question to ask the Thai immigration authorities and the government. Why not us? What did we do wrong? Why do Russian people get 90 days for whatever reason, and we don't get that same extension of stay? I would have thought it would have been smart for the Thai government to say, if you've got the visa-free status, we're going to increase it from 30 to 90 days. Everybody, you're all welcome. It would have been a much better look, and probably the possibility of greater tourism from everywhere in the world, not just select countries. Frank in Thailand says, happy to announce we aren't in a tourist area, so I couldn't tell the difference between the tourist seasons. Well, look, there's another interesting phenomenon, and friend Colin in Phuket rang up yesterday saying, I can't figure out how to post on your community section, I'll just read it to you. So there you go. But he was talking about the fact that the traffic in Phuket at the moment, and it's not the reason I left, but it is part of the sort of long lists of reasons that I left Phuket, but the traffic has just got insane over the past 12 months. The past 6 months, really, but I suppose the last 12 months, it's just increased from bad to now existentially crippling. There are parts of, say, Tepkasatri Road, which is the main north-south route in Phuket, that are just clogged, such that to travel a kilometre might take you up to an hour, depending on what time of the day. And for those people say that I'm exaggerating, well, I was living there for 2 years, and I saw it change. And I was sitting in the car at different times of the day, sitting in this crippling traffic. Nobody can seem to explain what's changed. Given that there are fewer tourists in Phuket than, say, 2019 at the moment, why are we getting this crippling traffic? And if they get an increase in tourists over the high season, what's it going to be like then? So, good question from Colin, and I thank him for that. Bill G responds saying, having lived in China for the past 8 years, I never want them to suffer, but there are significant difficulties facing them. Even those with means are conscious of having to watch their wallets. Thank you, Bill G. I sort of suspect after COVID-19, there's a lot of middle class around the world who may have been frequent travellers who are now having to watch their wallets as they see some disturbing dark signs on the horizons geopolitically, as well as their wallets being a little bit smaller than they used to be. Bill, thank you very much for your response. Brett Border responds, I understand the reasons for not playing the update jingle on the news channel. I understand the reason. Okay, what brought that about? That update thing, that was just out of nowhere. It was just a one-day thing. It's not going to happen again. 90-day crime visa, says Mick Fitz. Okay, the Chinese citizens have been suffering for over 70 years. Not all Chinese citizens. Some Chinese citizens have got a very good life. I've got some Chinese friends who I communicate with regularly. They're not members of the Communist Party, and neither am I, by the way. But they have pretty good lives, and very interesting lives too. And the times I've been to China, I found it a fascinating place. I'm not seeing people sort of living under some sort of crippling regime, although they do crack down on some parts of their civility from time to time, and it's pretty harsh. But most of the, 1.3 billion Chinese have a pretty good life. Okay, let's go further. But can you work it on this show once in a while? Oh, you want the update theme? Well, no, it's not going to happen. I do slightly revamp the format of the programs. Like, no one's noticed during the week, but I've done those little connecting pieces with the whoosh sound. I've done another 30 of them. No one's noticed. No one said, oh, good on you, Tim. I'm a bit upset on that. But I am sort of looking at tweaking different parts of the show. You may have noticed it's also got from around about 20 minutes each day. It's down to about 15 minutes a day. That's cut into the amount of money that I'm earning and also the watch time on the channel, but it's also a way of accommodating my lifestyle a bit better, and the 15 minutes seems to be more of a sweet spot for the viewers. And I'd also like to add that, you probably noticed during the week that I've moved it from coming out around about 9 a.m. to around about 10 a.m. each day. So I'm getting out each day, going for a walk, and thoroughly enjoying the lifestyle that's being offered here. And what do we got here? Brett, thank you very, very much. Come on, play it. I can't play it live with the sound. It's not going to work with the sound. I'm sorry about that. But you can find it on YouTube if you type in YouTube, Kevin Dennis update advertisement. Kevin Dennis update advertisement. I think that'll find it, and you can play it as many times as you like. But it was a 60-second TV commercial for a car dealer in Melbourne, Australia. And I just used that update bit, and people got really oiled up about it. Thank you, Brett. I really appreciate your support of the program. But that's how you can find the update if you want it. I can't play the sound. I can play vision, but I can't play sound. Brett Border just having some fun. I thought it was funny. So, morning from a beautiful sunny day, devoid of tourists in Sanklaburi, says Tom Orr. Update your car at Kevin Dennis, says Robbie. We're not going to be talking about that all day, are we? Traffic change is more Thais coming to driving age and cheap credit with the aspiration of status symbols. This is analysis from Michael Brown. Look, I think in Phuket's case, and I can't speak for anywhere else in Thailand over the past 12 months because I haven't been anywhere else in Thailand. Well, I've been to Bangkok shortly. Bangkok's traffic's always bad. Didn't really notice a huge change there. But Phuket, I did notice a big change. I'm talking about not just 5 or 10% extra traffic, but 30, 40, 50% additional traffic. Now, it might be Thais returning to the island looking for work and driving around, trying to find jobs. It might be the Thais living in Phuket buying new cars. Now, that sounds sort of reasonable, but they're not going to be adding 20, 30, 40% of the traffic. That's the sort of additional loads I was seeing. Okay, Flemington is alive with the Melbourne Cup Festival, says Shano Traveller. Yes, my hometown of Melbourne has got racing fever, horse racing, and they have a big event. It'll be this Tuesday, the first Tuesday in November, the Melbourne Cup. So that will be Tuesday the 7th of November, and they hold the Melbourne Cup at the Flemington Racecourse, which I used to live quite nearby. I've told you many times I've been there to the Melbourne Cup 4 or 5 times, never seen a horse race, but a very, very social event that people enjoy going to. And the gardeners there are astonishing because they always get the roses to come out. Thousands and thousands of roses right during that week, during the race week at Flemington Racecourse. Thank you very much, Shano Traveller. Mick Fitz says, ride a bike. I ditched the car. It's so much better. Well, that's all very well during when it's days like today and you've got a short journey, but any more than a kilometre or so, and it's, it's a bit... I'm 64. I'm not going to sit on a motorbike for more than a kilometre. Got to put my hat on, my sunglasses and helmet and everything. The car is, I don't know, a lot easier to drive. And there's a thing called the rainy season. Motorbikes and wet season do not go well together, though it doesn't seem to bother the tyres. So just moving on, I just can't seem to get past all the comments today and really appreciate all you dropping in to say hello. Oh, another hello and thanks to Rob. Now, we speak more about Rob tomorrow, who popped into Thailand this week. Now, Rob's actually coming up, scoping the town, thinking of moving up here, if not permanently, perhaps occasionally. And so Rob brought me a present. No, it's not what you think. It's a Joey. You see, it's a Joey, which is in a pouch because this is a marsupial. It's not a mammal, it's a marsupial. It's peculiar to Australia, peculiar being the operative word. And this is a very lifelike looking kangaroo, red kangaroo. Now, these can grow up to 2 metres or so. That size, you don't want to mess with them because they can make a mess of you in one flick of these very powerful legs, as they do. They rear up on their tail and they go and you're spaghetti. So thank you very much to Frank for this. It usually takes pride of place where I've put the bonsai. So, but I thought I'll just show it to you. And there's the Joey there. Oh, isn't it cute, the Joey? There you go. Probably everything's out of focus now. I think it's okay. Another story I wanted to bring to your attention today, and this will affect a lot of people, from the BangkokPost.com. Extended nightlife hours to start on December the 15th. They were talking about starting it on the New Year holiday, which this year is going to start in Thailand on December the 29th for 4 days this year. But no, they're going to start it on December the 15th. The Prime Minister, Srettha Thavisin, has agreed to extend opening hours for nighttime entertainment venues, including pubs and bars, to 4 a.m. in Bangkok, Chiang Mai. Chonburi's now been included, which means Pattaya, and Phuket. And Mr. Srettha said relevant agencies will consider how many months are suitable for the trial. The extension will be temporary for the moment, and discussions about a changing of zoning will also be held in the future. And Anitin Sharvidakun, who's now the Interior Minister, said the government, or should that be the Minister of Interior, said the government also plans to extend the operating hours of restaurants that are run like entertainment venues from midnight to 2. What's the difference between a restaurant and a bar? I suppose the fact that they give you table service and decent meals. The current law only permits the selling of alcoholic drinks in restaurants until midnight, while music is not allowed after midnight. But it looks like they're going to get an extra 2 hours officially as well. So there's some interesting stories. We'll get to this one soon, which is the Myanmar military using foreigners, including Thais, as human shields. Now, this happening on our doorstep, and a story that I think is going under the radar, given the stories of Thais being taken hostage in the Middle East at the moment. but there's a lot more Thais being held as hostages by Myanmar at the moment. We'll check that story out a little bit later. It wrecked my old sports BMW one early morning. I'm not sure what did. It's a jumping rat. Oh, we're talking about kangaroos. Tim has found the fountain of youth. What fountain of youth? I've missed something. Buy an electric bike, Tim, says Robbie. Well, look, Robbie, I'd happily buy an electric bike, but I've got two perfectly good internal combustion four-cylinder engined motorbikes, which cost very little to run. I'll run them into the ground until I buy an electric one, but that problem still remains. The electric bike's still going to be uncomfortable to sit on for anything longer than a few kilometres or a trip up to 7-Eleven. And also, it's not going to keep me dry during the wet season, so that same situation applies. Thug Life, Tony Fossey, currently in Amsterdam, but home is south. Oh, sorry, talking to each other again. Darm 1, Melbourne Cup horse race is just a huge field of staying handicappers. Try picking the winner. Yes, everybody places a bet for the Melbourne Cup, and I'm sure I'll be in a few sweepstakes on Tuesday, including the one run by the Phuket Has Been Good to Us Foundation. I'll make sure I put an entry in for the sweepstakes. And yeah, it's almost impossible to pick a winner for the Melbourne Cup. No doubt about it. Yes, it's a handicapped race. The faster horses are carrying more weight. I don't understand. I don't really care. But it's a great event and enjoyed by many, many. That thing is tacky. I'm not sure what we're talking about there. Oh, this thing. It's not tacky. I think it's sort of kitsch. I'd call it kitsch, but not tacky. But appreciate Rob bringing that. He also brought enough Mexican food to feed himself, Steve and I for at least one meal. And then Steve and I were enjoying it on Thursday when we recorded this week's Grumpy Old Men as well. So we got a few meals out of it. Thank you, Rob. Let's go to some more. And Myanmar, another beautiful country being ruined by war. Sickening. Yeah, look, Myanmar is a basket case. There's no other way to say it. It's a shame, and the Thai government should be ashamed that they've done so little to try and arrest the situation in Myanmar. And when I get to this story, you'll understand that a lot of people are suffering and a lot of information not getting out of the quieter locations. But governing Myanmar, it's always been difficult, even with a democratic government or not, because it's really just a sort of a whole lot of tribes and gangs. And trying to pull them together long before even the British were there is just an almost impossible problem for the country that is currently called Myanmar. I think it's got long-term problems. And I'd like to think that Thailand could do something a bit more positive about bringing peace back to that country to at least give it a chance. Out of focus. I don't think I am out of focus. I'm in focus as far as I can see. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Pick is crispy, super clear. Yes, that's the way I see it as well. You challenging Steve to a game of 2-Up on Tuesday. Steve is going to be in hospital on Tuesday. I think... yes, he goes into hospital on Sunday for his hernia. He'll be, I'm pretty sure, in hospital on Tuesday. Wishing him well for the surgery. I think it's pretty routine surgery these days, but good luck to Steve. I changed the settings, now it's good, says Frank in Thailand. How's Steve feeling, says Dave the Dasher. Steve is fine, just wanting to get this surgery out of the way. So other things, we got some questions in from viewers yesterday for me to address today. So let's try and find those. Good luck, Tim, trying to find them. Here we go. I found them. And we'll go to this. I noticed that Grumpy Old Men episodes are way more grumpy and unfiltered when you shoot them at Steve's man cave. I remember talk about vibrating rubber tongues, accidental burps and full-on rage about other foreigners. I responded by saying I think you'll be disappointed because this week's Grumpy Old Men was filmed in Steve's man cave. I don't think we got particularly upset about anything. And I know it's called Grumpy Old Men, and maybe we're not grumpy as people expect, but maybe an interesting observation. Maybe we're just toning down. Maybe we're just getting older and less grumpy. I'll be on the shirt watch, obviously, which has been on point of late, by the way. Thank you very much. This one from Lazada as well. And what is the likelihood that Phuket Council will investigate the logistics vehicle impacts of the new proposed road and the possibility of another pink elephant? I think you're talking about a white elephant. Maybe flying pigs. I mean, the possibility of this happening soon are extremely remote. They're talking about another 4-lane, 2 lanes in each direction highway between Katu and Sisuntorn. It's going to take 5-10 years to happen, even if they got the drawings finished today. They've got to appropriate the land. It's just not going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with Phuket for traffic. It's just a really big problem. 2 Up is played on the 11th, not the 7th of November. 2 Up is also played on Anzac Day, which is the 25th of April, which is a sacrosanct date in Australian history, commemorating the siege at Gallipoli during the First World War. And 2 Up was a game played by the Diggers, the Australian soldiers at the time. Guzzy Jack, thank you very much for your kind and generous support of the program. It says, for your Lazada account, while the US dollar is still strong. I'm buying everything in Thai baht, not in US dollars. And Lazada is based here in Thailand, so I'm not really sure if the American dollar going up or down is really going to do much to the price of the shirts. But thank you very much. I will go out and buy another shirt. Do they cost about that? I know they cost about half that. So I can buy 2 shirts for that. Thank you very much, Guzzy Jack. And I do like to keep my shirts topped up. And I found a great site on Lazada. And they're very, very cheap. And as far as I can see, great quality and very light. What other questions do we have online? Has there been any follow-up on the Qatari man who attacked the Starbucks worker in a prominent Bangkok hospital bathroom? He was looking at 2 years and a Thai jail at last reported. I don't know anything about that story, so I apologise I can't give you a follow-up. What do you think of the new Beatles song? So I had a listen to it yesterday. Just a very quick background. There was a song recorded by John Lennon before he died in 1980, and he recorded it with a cassette tape, and it's just him and a piano. And during a 1996, I think, recording session with George, Ringo, and Paul, when they did a few songs, I think they did 2 songs at the time. Their names elude me at the moment. They were particularly good, but they were recorded by the Beatles. They tried to make something of this song now and then, but the technology didn't really make it possible. Jumped to 2023 and they revisited it, and they found that because of the work done by Peter Jackson, who put that the Beatles sort of documentary together called Get Back, which you can watch on Disney Plus, where they turned all the old 16mm film footage into what looked like spectacularly shot 35mm crystal clear, colour balanced. An amazing documentary from a technical point of view. And then they were able to pull George's voice off the piano and voice recording from the cassette, making him sound literally like he was singing by himself in a modern day studio. Now, during that 1996 recording session, when they started to record the song, George also put down some guitar tracks as well. So, put it all together and they have done what has to be the final Beatles song with the 4 Beatles playing on it, and it was released as Now and Then. Now, I think from a sentimental and nostalgic point of view, it's an astounding piece of technology. 53 years after the Beatles broke up. From a musicality point of view, it's okay, but it's not a song that I would call a great, not even an average Beatles song. But I think it's interesting from a nostalgia point of view and the technology. And the song, okay, it's interesting to listen to from the point of view of how it happened. And there's, I think, about a 10-minute documentary that goes with it as well, which you can also watch on Disney+. I think if you type in Now and Then into YouTube, you can also watch it there. And you can see a bit how it was all put together. That's what I think about it. Fascinating from a technical point of view and from a nostalgia point of view, but I don't think it'll ever be considered in the top 50 Beatles songs. For myself, I mean, when I was very young, I was listening to the Beatles, and now as a 64-year-old, when you're 64, I can enjoy the final Beatles song. So sort of the bookends. What was the first one? Please Please Me? I'm not really into the whole Beatles thing, but I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed their music, and I still consider them probably the greatest band that has lived in my generation. There's nobody that comes close when it comes to awards and top 10s, top 20s, number of albums sold, etc., etc. They're so far in front of just about any other band or artist. Okay, so KJ says, Tim, do you think that nostalgia is going to be even more commodified with generative AI? Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, you've got ABBA now touring in London, even though they're not there. They're putting on a show every night, which is the 4 ABBA performers who recorded some new songs, and of course they've got a whole lot of old songs, in their 70s in front of green screens with those uniforms with the dots on them so their motion could be tracked. Then they mapped their early 30s faces onto those bodies, and they've been revived, sort of a new old ABBA. And we're going to see more of this technology in the future, there's no doubt. At least this Now and Then is organic from the point of view it was the real voices and the real tunes written by real Beatles and mixed and produced by real Beatles. I think Jeff Lynne from ELO was also involved. But yeah, Brett Border says, the song is decent but only special to some due to the relationship of the band. Yeah, I think you're right. The song's not great, but it's great to listen to because it is and will forever be the final real Beatles song. Kelly Hartnett, hi. Kelly says, hi Tim, does the public of Thailand still follow the Murder Babes from a few years ago? The Murder Babes? I don't know what that is. The Murder Babes, is that a music group? A group of serial killers? I don't know. You'll have to fill me in, Kelly, but thanks for the question. Just a few more. You mustn't have heard of the Rolling Stones. Of course I've heard of the Rolling Stones. They're quite amazing. But they don't come anywhere near the Beatles as far as albums sold, hit songs, etc. Not that that is a measure of what's good music. Either you're going to like this music or that music, and the Stones will also remain fond favourites. But nowhere near the musicality or the success of the Beatles. But I mean, there's plenty of other bands you can say were great. But if you just want to measure it from the numbers, then the Beatles come out way in front. I think they also had an interesting journey from their early music through that middle period, and then later in their career, they sort of really had a journey in their music that a lot of bands really, they sort of got into a groove, found something the public liked and kept on doing songs which sounded much the same. But the Beatles really had quite an astonishing musical sort of expedition through the years. Plenty of it fueled by interesting substances. Love Me Do was the first song. Love Me Do, was it? Thanks, Gunnar, if you're right. Thank you very much. Love Me Do. I thought it was Please Please Me. Somebody, can you Google what was the Beatles' first song? It was either Love Me Do or Please Please Me. You might be right. Love Me Do. I think it was Love Me Do too. Just smash the like. Does that help Tim? Yes, it does. Well, don't smash. Just gently click it. That'll suffice. And that'd be great. I've been talking for 41 minutes. Let's get some other stuff done here. And I just wanted to go to this story. Where are we? This is a sort of an important story. Myanmar military using foreigners, including Thais, as human shields. And this is being reported by Thai PBS World. Myanmar's military junta has used foreigners, including Thais, as human shields in northeastern Shan state, where fighting the junta and an ethnic alliance is escalating. This according to the Irrawaddy, who are usually very accurate and generally taking an anti-junta stance, but they have been traditionally very accurate. Instead of sending them back to their respective countries, the junta's anti-human trafficking unit sent them to military camps. The online quoted a humanitarian worker as saying, apart from Thais, other foreign nationals were those from Nepal, Ethiopia and Laos, and the army is using them as forced labour to build bunkers, dig trenches and carry timber. They're practically human shields. Says this source, the foreigners are being held in frontline outposts in Lokai town, that's going to be my pronunciation, where their lives are at risk from fighting that could erupt at any time. They could possibly be caught in the crossfire, according to the Irrawaddy. Where is this Lokai? Well, there you've got Thailand down there. You've got Chiang Mai, Laos there, Myanmar. So it's sort of up in the northeast of Myanmar on the border with China. And that's a town called Lokai. And a bit more about this town. It's not quite as remote as made out. Reporting from Frontier. And that is a great big shiny casino in this town called Lokai. Local politicians in a border region known for its frequent outbreaks of violence hope to transform it into the next Macau, but will have to overcome instability, politics and corruption to achieve their vision. As far as China and Myanmar are concerned, this area is just mountainous outpost with nothing much to consider, where local tribes and gangs are pretty much doing what they want. And the end of that Thai PBS story says Lokai is notorious as a hub for online gambling and scam businesses. Hundreds of suspected human traffickers have been arrested and handed over to China in recent weeks after Beijing pressured the junta to crack down on Lokai. So there you go. It's just some important news that's not only the Middle East where Thais are being held hostage, but it looks like the situation between the border of Myanmar and China is just as dangerous for many Thai people at the moment, and it's just next door. I mean, we're talking about 700 or 800 kilometres from the Thai border. It might be less than that. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's about 200 or 300 kilometres from the northern Thai border, that golden triangle border between Myanmar, Laos and Thailand. I'd press the breaker button so I just need to have a sip of my cup of coffee if I can. Ape Jones says the Beatles' first song was Love Me Do, thank you. John says, and the Stones are still touring into their 80s. Yeah, well, they're all alive. Well, most of them. The Beatles, they're sort of doing their own thing, those two that are left. But, I mean, you're either going to like one sort of music or another, and some people love the Stones. I mean, I don't love the Stones, but I appreciate their music, their longevity, and some of their antics. But the Beatles were just in a different category altogether. I suppose they were the first boy band. They really weaponised pop music and spread Western pop music to a lot more places in the world than most other bands before. Beatles not a patch on Blackpink, says John. I'm actually going to be doing a documentary, because I've got a few documentaries in mind, which sort of talks about some of this earlier music, Beatles principally, and some K-pop, and trying to compare where pop music has gone during the intervening 50 years. Quite interesting, really. Kiss went okay in their day. Oh, here we go. The Stones for me, says Thug Life. Just smash the like, thank you very much. Have you booked your Christmas dinner yet? Will there be turkey shortage in Thailand again this year? No, I haven't. I haven't quite decided. I think I'm going to be hosting Christmas dinner here, but as I mentioned earlier, I am considering flying back to Australia just for a quick week or something. I'll see what happens. But otherwise, we'll be having Christmas dinner here, overlooking the beach. And I leave Taylor Swift to all the 14-year-old girls. I'll stick to the Stones, says Thug Life. A conversation I was having with Steve yesterday, we didn't actually talk about it online, but we were sort of saying that when we have conversations about music like this, there are a lot of people who just grip onto the bands that were popular and they loved pretty much during their teens. The music they discovered, the music that sort of mapped and was the soundtrack to their young and vibrant and maybe more rebellious life. And then when they get into their 50s and their 60s and 70s, they still hearken back to those songs from their teens, and they grip them and hold them and cherish them and nurture them like they're still the best music that was ever made. Steve, sort of somewhere between the two. He's got new music he likes, and he's certainly got a lot of older music he likes. And he grew up in a household which had a lot of music playing, so he told me. And in my house, we had a lot of music playing all the time. My father was a musician and a banker, and served in the army band. So, yeah, I listen to a lot of recent music, and I enjoy it as much as the music I've enjoyed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. There's still some great music coming out these days. It's different, music has evolved, but let me tell you, the music in the 60s had massively evolved from the music of the 40s and then the 50s. Probably the biggest revolution in pop music of the last century was during the 1960s. We're not seeing those same sort of revolutions, but more reworkings of popular music styles. But I certainly enjoy some of the recent music as much as I did when I was listening to, and I still enjoy listening to the music from the 60s, 70s and the 80s and the 90s. So I'm not sort of fixated on any particular bands or genres. I still enjoy listening and appreciating new music. Can't compare Stones and Beatles, says Brett Border. Beatles were albums and radio, whereas Stones were and are a touring band. Interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly... the Beatles, I don't think they toured much at all. I think they stopped touring in 1967, so they only did it for 2 or 3 years, and then they sort of got sick of it. They complained they couldn't hear themselves play. But interesting way of looking at it. Thank you, Brett. And Frank in Thailand, I can assure that all possible routes are used, including ties with China, Russia. I missed that. Elvis for me, says John's Journeys. Yeah, well, that's going back to the 50s and I suppose less so the 60s. And he was sort of brought back to front and centre with last year's movie Elvis from Baz Luhrmann, and that astonishing performance by Austin Butler. But yeah, I mean, I certainly appreciate Elvis's contribution to music as well. Since relations of Thailand are good with China, why don't they seek help for the release of hostages in Gaza? Well, currently the foreign minister is in the Middle East, and I think he's been to Iran and Egypt, and he's also spoken directly to Hamas. And the promise is that the Thai hostages will be released once the Israeli army pulls out of Gaza. So they will remain hostages for at least the near to middle term, I would say. But they've been promised that they are safe. Exactly how many there are, nobody really seems to know. But thank you very much. Dark Side, says Brett Border, was number one for many years before MJ's Dark Side of the Moon, MJ Michael Jackson. Trying to sort of read all the shorthand here. Kent Atchison says there's a guy offering visa runs to the Myanmar border. Said he was risking people, but is still organising for a 10th of November. That guy's is totally irresponsible. If you're thinking of doing a visa run, don't even think of heading towards the Burmese border. You'd be absolutely insane. There's plenty of other land borders where you can cross and do a border run safely. Generally, though, I think border runs are sort of, they're not the way to renew your visa these days. They're not really the favourites by the immigration people. They only allow, I think it's officially, 2 border runs each year. And they're really discouraging people from doing border runs anyway. They want people to, if they're going to try and stay here, stay with some proper applied for and approved visa, and then do their 90-day reports. There's some truth to that. Music tastes seem to solidify at a certain age for most people, says KJ. Yeah, that's the way I see it. For me, I don't know. I still enjoy listening to the new music as much as I still enjoy listening to the old music and AC/DC and Pink Floyd and Stones and the Beatles and ABBA. And I mean, there's so much good music from the past, and I certainly enjoy it, but I still enjoy listening to new music as well. Steve and I agreed on one thing. Steve said, rap doesn't do it for me, and I had to agree with him. I sort of don't necessarily see rap as music. I call rap poetry to musical rhythm rather than... You don't listen to rap for its musicality. You listen to it for its words and its themes. Going on to some more. Oh, here we go. Everybody telling us who is their favourite. B.B. King, says Tom Hattlebreck. There is no bigger Depeche Mode fan than Brett Border, Depeche Mode. Tim, we all love you, but I don't recall you ever sharing anything personal, such as kids' divorces. Sid City. Compare me to Steve Ross for a moment, with an E. Steve wears his life on his sleeve and is happy to tell you everything. That's just not me. I prefer to sort of keep my home life to myself, and I sort of keep my door a bit more closed, I suppose, to people walking in and walking out of it. I've got a pretty busy professional life, and I don't really have that much time at the moment to socialise. That may change, maybe in the near future. But I don't really think you need to know much about... I mean, if you like what I do, then please watch. I'm not why you watch, it's what I talk about, which is why you watch. It's the information we convey. My personal opinions and my personal life has got nothing to do with the daily news here in Thailand. From time to time, I may express an opinion, and I'll certainly tell you when I'm doing that. But otherwise, that's about as far as I'm going to go. Lambeth, the skies ain't blue, the grass it ain't green. Here we go. Thai building, 1963 to 1973 was the best decade in music ever. Interesting opinion. Certainly there was a lot of revolutionary music coming out in the 60s and 70s, but I don't know if you can say it was the best decade in music. I think that's just personal taste. Massive Attack, here we go. Oingo Boing. I think puberty and music are related too, says Dam1. I think you're right, Dam. There's a lot to be said for that. The Cure, great music from the 80s. Oh dear. This is what we're going to talk on. Well said, Tim. Spot on. Mystic Knights, Creedence, Clearwater Revival. Yes, they were great too. Everybody telling us about their favourite music, and Joe says Talking Heads. Let's go to some more of these questions that came in from the viewer during the week. Let's see what we can find. What do you think of the new Beatles? Good morning, Tim. Your opinion on how it is that the Thai politics or government find wanted criminals all over the place, however, cannot bring the grandson heir to the Red Bull empire to face his charges. Why don't the Thai police have a reward for the capture of him? Interesting question. We're talking about Boss. Can't remember his full name at the moment, but he is the grandson of the co-founder of Red Bull. I'm getting very hot here. A quick glass of water. Got a fan down there, but it's not doing much work. Well, he's overseas, that's one thing. Yeah, I think they could find him if they wanted to and bring him back, but there seems to be a disinclination to bring him back to Thailand. I think it has done nothing in Thailand for the Red Bull brand. And just such a complicated story. Do I ever think he'll be held to some sort of justice? Yes, I do. But not at the moment. Let's just see what happens with that story. But I think part of the problem is he's just he's on the run overseas. And like Thaksin, unless he comes back to Thailand, he's sort of pretty much untouchable unless they kidnap him and bring him back. Next story. Can you please direct me to the podcast where you spoke about your eye lens implants? I want all that good information, including the physician and hospital. I'm considering surgery for my eyes. Thank you in advance. Okay, I'm not sure how you can find it. Probably should do another one. Yeah, I did a whole hour with the eye doctor, Dr. Captain, and Dr. Captain is from the Bangkok Hospital in Phuket, from the Bright Eyes Centre, I think it's called, which is part of the Bangkok Bangkok Hospital Phuket. I had my cataracts removed and replaced with artificial lenses, but they weren't just monofocal in the one focus lenses, they were multifocal lenses, which means I can see here in sharp focus and I can see infinity in sharp focus. I can see infinity. It could be a song. So yeah, look, I had a really, really good outcome from the surgery and it suited me and it's been a massive success and it was the best money I ever spent on myself. So that's Dr. Captain at the Bright Eyes Centre at the Bangkok Hospital Phuket. Mention me when you make the booking and make sure you mention me when you see Dr. Captain. Give him my regards. Not sure that you'll get a discount, but I'm not sure what will happen. But I don't get a kickback, so I can promise you that. Okay, who is replacing or how are the 250 senators replaced in spring next year that has blocked Pita from becoming the Prime Minister? It's either in March or May next year that the current Senate, the hand-picked Senate by the junta, will be replaced by, I don't know, I think it's an elected Senate. I don't know if it's a partial election. I think it's a full election of new senators. Now, there hasn't been much publicity about it, and I haven't gone through the entrails of the 2017 Constitution to see how new senators will be elected. Maybe they're handpicked by the new government. I'm pretty sure it'll be an election, but I don't know. But interesting question, and that will change the complexion of politics, certainly once we have a new Senate, an appointed a democratically elected Senate. Let's see what happens. After 16 years, can American in the US purchase the lottery tickets? No, I think you have to be at least living in Thailand. You can be an expat. Yeah, I'm pretty sure expats can go in the lottery. Oh yes, because Steve goes in the lottery. He wins every now and then. So yes, expats, I think maybe you've got to have a certificate of residency, which means you could be leasing a property, you could be a retiree, you could be on a visa, you could be a tourist with a certificate of residency, I think. But I think that would be a minimum requirement to be able to pick up your winnings. But yeah, expats generally can go into the lottery. But lottery in Thailand really is for people who don't understand mathematics. Statistically, you have such a slim chance of winning, but people still buy their lottery tickets and use their favourite numbers every week. Okay, why is medical care costly in certain countries? Is because the quality of medical care or shortage of professionals. Are you asking a question or answering it? This from Mandalik. Medical care in Thailand is excellent. Do you have one lens for long sight and one for near? What did it cost? That question from Smurf Hits. No, I had one eye done one day and the other eye done the next day. Basically, they do a lot of tests in the weeks before to decide which sort of lens they're going to put in, because they can change the power depending on the physics of your eye and the shape of the cornea and all that. So there is another type of cataract surgery you can get done, which is called monovision, where they put one lens in which is slightly under and the other one which is slightly over, and then your brain puts together the two images and gives you basically a fairly good outcome. Now, I did test drive monovision, and they do that by popping a contact lens into one eye and just seeing how you cope. I didn't cope with monovision at all, so my brain is so feeble it couldn't figure out how to put together the two images. So I went for these multifocal lenses, which are much more expensive, but I've had an excellent outcome. People can also get a LASIK done if they're older, in their, say, their late 30s, early 40s, when presbyopia starts setting in. That's when you start to lose some of your close vision and you're starting to buy the cheap reading glasses. And they engineer one eye with LASIK a little bit undercorrected or overcorrected to provide you with a monovision. But that's only a short-term solution. Once you're in your 50s and 60s, just about everybody will have some sort of loss of general optical acuity, and it will need some sort of either heavier glasses or a removal of their cataracts or a change of the lenses in their eyes. What did it cost? I think it cost 90,000 baht per eye. Now, that was 4 years ago, so I think it might be up around about 100,000 baht per eye now. I don't know. You'll have to find out from Dr. Captain. He'll also tell you whether you're a good candidate for the procedure. He'll also tell you the latest costs, and he'll go through the risks. I mean, any time that you're going under the knife, there is a possibility of infection and whatever. I was fully awake during the entire procedure. I can remember the entire procedure from the point of view that I was talking and chatting to the doctor the whole time. They just put anaesthetic eye drops in your eyes and they dilate the eyes. It's like sitting at the bottom of a swimming pool and looking up. It was just sort of waves of light and colour. I couldn't see a thing. But they just put a 2mm incision in the side of the eye where an instrument goes in, and it uses sound waves to basically explode the natural lens. They then turn it into a vacuum cleaner. How are you going with your breakfast? Sucking out the remnants of your old cataract from the capsular excess, and then they insert, all folded up, these new tiny little lenses which go in, and then they unfold and take up the space where your old lens was. Amazing sort of microsurgery, but it was all done in about 20 minutes and about 20 minutes. So I was like in the operating theatre and out within an hour on both days. But I can recall the whole conversation and the experience. So I wasn't under any sort of hallucinatory drugs at all. I certainly wasn't under. Didn't feel a thing. Zero pain. Even over that night, I think I took a couple of paracetamol. That was it. Very, very little pain. No pain, I think I can say. So yeah, had a great outcome. Can you and your homie Steve do a rap song about Turtle Beach? No. Skyscanner has got one-way Bangkok to Melbourne for $429 on the 23rd of the 12th. Thanks, Stephen. I'll check that out. Jetstar, Scoot, probably one of those, maybe Air Asia. Frank in Thailand says, you can get extension 1 month of the 3-month visa. After this, you need a real visa or make a border run year visa. Yeah, people forever talking about visas. I do have this visa expert I'm wanting to bring onto the program. I've just got to find time to do it. People will forever be talking about visas. I read a study today saying that Thailand is still one of the top countries that retirees look at when they're considering their retirement. And when you look at all the other countries that are available for retirement, I can see why Thailand is still a great option. People whinge about the visa policies and they complain about the amount of money you've got to leave in a bank account, and they complain about this and that. My personal experience is that there just hasn't been any problems. If I do strike any problems, they're pretty easy to iron out. And I thoroughly enjoy living in Thailand. And as I've said a number of times, I will, hopefully in a long time ahead, eventually die in Thailand. This is the country I've chosen to live in. As I stand up, I've been sitting down for an hour, and I enjoy just about everything about living in Thailand. All the tiny little annoying things are things, there's tiny little annoying things everywhere in the world. But here, it's all the big things, the cost of living, the quality of medical care, the access to good food, the culture, general peace and quiet and peace from a relatively stable government. They've had a coup from time to time, but as far as affecting the citizenry, over the past 2 decades, we've had peace and stability here in Thailand. And I think that's going to continue into at least the future that we can see. I've decided to retire here along with many, many others. And if you are considering to retire in Thailand, do your homework, come and spend a few months here first, and see if it suits you. It's not for everyone, and a place like Turtle Beach is not for everyone. There are no bars around here. There's no shopping centres. There's very little to do here, so don't come here unless you've got something to do and something to keep you occupied. You're not going to find people walking around who speak English or any other foreign language. You're going to have to map out and plan your retirement if you want to come to a place like this. Otherwise, go to your Pattayas, your Bangkoks, your Phukets, your Chiang Mai's, your Hua Hins, because you've got to find a lot more foreign expat communities in those areas. Okay, a few more comments and then we'll say goodbye. Really appreciate everybody joining in, by the way, today. Been here for 1 hour and 10 minutes. And you're still chatting and I'm still talking. I recently bought... Oh, it's disappeared. Here we go. This is from Smelly Sumtom. I recently bought new glasses here in Chayapun. 30,000 baht. And they tried progressive lenses on me and they didn't agree with me and my brain at all. Some people just can't wear them, like me. Look, Smelly, sometime you might be a good candidate for this cataract surgery and have your lenses replaced. Rather than fixing the problem in front of the eye, you can fix it from behind the cornea instead. But again, there's a price to pay. But if you're paying 30,000 baht for glasses, I used to be wearing reading glasses all the time. I mean, for 30 years, I was wearing 25 years, wearing reading glasses all the time. I started with number 1s, the number 2s, the number 3s. Once you get to number 3s, it's getting a bit dire. And I had 20 pairs scattered around the house and had them in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and had 3 or 4 pairs on the desk. I'd sit on them, had them in the bed under the pillow. They were everywhere. They're only quite cheap, the reading glasses, but look, it worked for me. I had a really good outcome. It may not be for you, and the only way you're going to find out is to go and have an examination, and I think it's a free examination and a consultation with a doctor like Dr. Captain at the Bangkok Hospital in Phuket. Mike Clinton says, I've got progressives on now, and I am a programmer going to get computer glasses, LOL, getting tired, tilting my head to find the correct focus. I see you have to do that because the lens is progressive. Yeah, look, I get it, but I just hated wearing glasses. They made me look quite smart. Can you imagine? Yeah, I just hated, and I just used to lose them. How do you have a retirement visa and still work in Thailand? Or are you on a different visa? I'm on a different visa. I'm sort of retired as far as, in saying that I'm working harder now than I've ever worked, but I'm on a different visa. Yeah, I mean, the idea was I'd come here and sort of slow things down, but I still thoroughly enjoy working. My sister, who's 10 years older than me, she's still working full time. No sign of slowing down. Still smokes a packet of cigarettes a day. Don't know how she does it. But maybe it's just in our DNA, in our family. We like working late into our lives, as did my parents as well. I like turtles, says Mike Clinton. That's nice. And I found, okay, we're talking about reading glasses now. I found the reading glasses focus not the same as computer focus distance. Well, that's entirely up to you. You can get reading glasses that suit your eyes and suit the focal distance. But they will only focus on one plane of focus, near, medium or far. If you want the full spectrum, then you're going to have to get the surgery done on your eyes. 10 years down the road, when you do pass in Thailand, what will happen with your body? Oh, yes, not 10 years, Tim, years down the road. This is from writer on The Storm, Kyushu. Well, look, the simple answer is I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I won't be here to worry about it. I'll be cremated, I'd imagine. I'll be taken to the local hospital. They'll declare me dead or otherwise, and there'll be a certificate written, and I'll be sent off to the crematorium. I'm pretty sure that's how it'll happen. I'm not going to have my body repatriated to Australia or anything like that, but I'll be cremated, and in my will I'll probably say scatter my ashes out across the Andaman Sea, where I spent the last X number of decades and thoroughly enjoyed the views, the sunsets, and the regular swims. I go swimming every day now. I'm 18 years living in Rawai, Phuket, and boy, we've had a roller coaster of a ride regarding Thai politics, says Wasana. Yes, we've had a roller coaster, but really, has it affected the day-to-day lives of Thais and even foreigners here? Even when they have these coups, it's really just a very sort of little localised thing and an announcement, and the Thais go, oh, I've got a different bunch of people running the country than the people that were running it yesterday. I think they'll be more concerned if that ever happens again, because they're getting more politically savvy, more younger educated people are starting to vote now. But in the past, things sort of just carried on, army running the country or otherwise. Tim went to Malaysia for his visa. The most recent visa, yes, Penang. That's correct. It's a long time ago now, well, a year ago. Okay, I'm 18 years living in Rawai. Thank you very much. Tim went to Malaysia. Yes. How did you buy your house at Turtle Beach? I thought foreigners cannot own land in Thailand. I rent these two properties. I've got a 10-year lease, and yeah, you're right. I can't own property here, and I'm not going to the trouble of setting up a company and fudging the laws. The spirit of the law is foreigners cannot own land in Thailand. And that's it. People scoot around the laws with all sorts of clever schemes with their solicitors and setting up Thai companies, but you never really own the land, and it's at your peril if you go into a scheme like that. Do you speak Thai, Tim? Says Crackers33. Very little. I think I learned all the Thai I know pretty much in the first 3 or 4 months I was here. I've tried 3 different times to go into some like really homework type Thai learning the alphabet and the squiggles, learning conversational Thai sentences, like a word a day, I've tried everything, but I'm just stupid. I simply can't seem to get the language into my head. Steve, on the other hand, he speaks not fluent Thai, but he speaks okay Thai, so that at least he can communicate with the locals. I am so far behind that, but I can usually order my food in Thai, but I don't think it's ever going to progress much more than that because, as I said, I'm just stupid. And with that, Tim, Bill just stole the plant to your left. Bill just stole the plant to your left. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. What are you talking about? Tim, how about one of those big Bali funerals like at the end of Lord Jim? Wasn't that a great film? I really enjoyed Lord Jim. I tried to look for it recently because I remember enjoying it when I was younger and I wanted to rewatch it, but I couldn't find it. But I remember it was a great film. No, when I'm gone, I don't care what they do. My family can come and pick at what I've got left. I'll leave my money to some sort of local charity or my relatives back in Australia. I mean, I haven't really thought that much about it, but I don't care what happens to me once I'm dead. I really don't. Hi, Tim. After working 60 hours a week for many years, I retired at 62, moved to Jomtien. I love to walk along the beach and enjoy the huge variety of restaurants and service offered here, says Phil L. Fantastic, Phil. Glad you're enjoying it. This beach is whatever Jomtien and Pattaya beaches are. This is the exact opposite. I can go out there now. I might see one soy dog and a couple of fishermen, and that's pretty much all I'll see all day, anytime during the year. Very, very quiet here, which is sort of the way that I like it. Sorry, mate. Bill said he wanted some plants when you die. Bill who? A good start on the weekend, Tim, says Gunnar Hopstead. That's about it. I'm out of here. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with things happening here in Thailand than an hour and 20 before. Have a really, really good weekend. We've got the Grumpy Old Men around tomorrow. Really appreciate those people that have supported us in the Super Chat. I'm more grateful than you could possibly imagine. So thank you. Thank you so much for contributing to our little enterprise here. I don't make a living out of doing YouTube, but I make enough, I suppose, to keep me in the odd computer every couple of years. And as long as I can keep affording the internet, I'll keep doing these little programs and hopefully trying to answer the odd question and explain a bit more about the news and the lifestyle in Thailand as best I can. So from me, from the kangaroo, and we do need to find a name for the kangaroo. We might worry about that next week. But thanks, Rob, for the kangaroo. That's a Joey. I'm just reminding you. And we'll see you next week. We've got our weekday TNT. And tomorrow, Grumpy Old Men. Bye from me. See you later.